Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by Bryan Fonseca. You can find him in the Action Network app on Twitter and at YouTube. He's Bryan Fonseca, NY. On YouTube, he's youtube.com/@Bryan Fonseca. Also joined by Brandon Anderson, NBA futures analyst at Wheaton Brando in the Action Network app and on Twitter. And today we will talk about the stunner, shocking, are you fucking kidding me game ones that went on Monday as both road dogs win outright. We are 3-0 on road dogs winning outright in game ones, including busting my no way this loses alt play on the Oklahoma City Thunder as they were now 5-19 in the rest situation that the Nuggets were in game one. We will give you best bets for the Wednesday slate for those two series, Celtics, Knicks, and Nuggets, Thunder. We'll get into a bunch of big picture topics, and then we've got a lot of bets for you on today's show as well from Bryan and Brandon. Various angles, if in case you were curious, like it's going to be the zigzag is absolutely going to be in effect a little bit here on today's show.
Matt from Evan Abrams. 2 underdogs. So last night's games were so crazy. 2 underdogs of 9 or more points won outright the same day of the playoffs for the first time in 25 years. That's what we watched last night. 25 years. And that includes all the times in round one when we get like 4 games in a night. This was the only 2 games we saw the 2 title favorites do things that surprised all of us.
Yep. NBA noted that this was the 7th time in NBA history that three road teams have won a game one in the second round, which I thought
and it's never happened that it's been all 4, by the way, if you're listening before Tuesday night. So we'll see if the Warriors can make it 4 for 4.
Okay, we'll see if history is made. I want to start today with a big picture question. This is before we get into the nitty gritty of these two series. I want to talk about like a very broad thing, and I have a question for you, and you have to choose one. I give you guys this option. You can play one of the underdogs to win the series outright between the Nuggets beating the Thunder, the Knicks beating the Celtics, or the Pacers beating the Cavs. Or you have to bet all 3 0-1 pre-series favorites on a parlay. Parlaying those is plus 150 at FanDuel. I want Bryan's answer first because Brandon's going to math me. So instead, I want Bryan's answer first on this question.
Denver.
Okay,
that's my underdog.
You want. I would have thought you would have gone for Pacers. You have a soft spot in your heart.
It's very close, but it's Jokic. Like that's what it comes down to for me. And I feel like Jokic, even though his team is clearly overmatched here, like I think he is the guy who gives you an opportunity in any series.
What I think is interesting about that is, from your perspective, it seems like you think the Pacers are alive and you think the Nuggets are alive, and you won't take the parlay because you think the Celtics or the Knicks are dead. Is that accurate?
I'm least confident about the Knicks. I think their win, as somebody who obviously did a watch along with that on the Pro Sports account, and some Knicks fans were annoyed by me, but I think their win was the flukiest of the 3, easily the flukiest.
You know, I had to be pretty fluky in order for Bryan Fonseca to be like reaffirming about the Celtics. Brandon Anderson. Yeah. Same question. Do you want to bet the parlay, or do you want any of the individual teams to win the series outright?
So I just want to be clear to make sure that this is in fact binary. Can I bet on any one of the underdogs will win, or do I have to choose which one?
You have to choose which one.
Okay, so this is not a two-way market here. We've created a different sort of market. So I'm going to math it out. Here's the math. Boston's winning the series. I'll be on Boston escalator. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I will be investing in Boston on this podcast today. I'm less confident in Oklahoma City, but still pretty confident in Oklahoma City. I'm not looking to invest, but they're going to win. So I was going to try to talk myself into, okay, I got to bet one of the underdogs. I guess it's the Cavs, I guess it's the Pacers. They're up 1-0. Looks like Garland and Mobley and maybe Hunter may be out for game 2. I guess it's that way, except if the parlay is plus 150 at FanDuel for all 3 of the favorites before the series to win, and I think the Celtics are free, and I think the Thunder are winning, now I'm just getting plus 150 on the 1 seed Cavs to win the series. So I guess I'll take that side and go with the math in my favor.
Okay. Let's talk about Knicks Celtics. A lot of good discussion. Zach Lowe predictably was awesome on the Bill Simmons podcast this morning talking about it. Here is where I'm at on Boston, New York. Making it into it was just shot variance is a little oversimplistic. And the reason is because Boston does not play a typical shot distribution. It is not, they have a healthy diet of like all these different things. And in this game in particular, something they're pretty good at and take a lot of shooting threes, they missed an outlier percentage of. This is all they do. They did it even more, and they shot even worse. And all of that is a pretty good kind of example to lead into the idea of like, well, they just missed shots, and that's it, and then we can move on. I went back and I watched. And this is the real, and then I decided to do some number digging, and this is the real big one that I think is relevant here, because we're talking about a game of margins, okay? The reality in this series is that the margin will likely not be this close again. And that's going to be a big reason to bet the Celtics. And we'll get there. But I wanted to talk about this game in particular from this perspective. In the regular season, 65% of Boston's three-point attempts came from catch-and-shoot opportunities. Those are good looks. Those are always going to be good looks. It's Derek White. It's Peyton Pritchard. Sometimes it's Tatum. Sometimes it's Brown. Sometimes it's Drew. Sometimes it's Horford. But like the majority are going to come from Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. Excellent shooters in those kind of possessions. I did a whole thing on this year where the average points per possession mark for those two on a catch and shoot three was like 1.3. It's a 130 offensive rating if they get a catch and shoot three. If that's all this game had been, was like Derek White and Peyton Pritchard missed a bunch of really good looks, I would have said that. It's not what happened. The average percentage rate was 65% in the regular season. Now in this game, they still took more catch and shoots than they did not catch and shoots because this is the Boston Celtics and that's what they do. But it was down to 52%. That's a huge margin. Because once you start taking away those high-quality looks, you're introducing jump shots off the dribble, and I'm here to tell you those are always going to be lower percentage looks unless you're Steph Curry. Everybody else in the world, in the history of mankind, it's a lower percentage shot. So from that perspective, what you saw was a lot of, and this is where the other thing is, one of the things that's always bugged me about Boston's offense, they do some drive and kick. They do they'll do split action cuts to get the defense collapse and then kick back out. That's all really good offense. It's why they won last year. It's why I was like crediting them and being like, this is really good offense. They weren't really doing that in this game. They were basically just throwing it around the perimeter and then taking an open three or a semi-open three. And like the numbers from NBA.com are like, these were unguarded. Look at the number from the tracking data. I am telling you, as somebody that does this deep work, the tracking data, the reason I always say, whenever I tweet about the tracking data, I say via NBA.com's admittedly wonky tracking data.
You do always say
because it's messy and a lot of teams have issues with how it tracks certain stuff. If they run a guard pick and pop or a guard screen and the guy comes off the dribble and spots up and the defender Jalen Brunson is catching up from the side, there's no one in front of that player, it's marked as open. But the guy can see out of the corner of his eye, Jalen Brunson's coming to contest. And you're like, but it's Jalen Brunson. What does that matter? It matters. Because having a guy that you know is close to you, closing in on you, does impact the shot more than them just like standing there and leaving you open. The final thing I'll say on this is that even when you're open, people have an unrealistic expectation of what those shots are going to look like. Are they going to look like 25%? No, that is not what they're going to look like. And I have trends for us when we get to best bets about what we should expect from Boston in this game based off of the outlier bad shooting performance that they had. But I will just say that when you play the way that the Celtics do, you leave yourself open to these types of outcomes. They do not reinforce their offense with mechanisms to prevent this. And so while this was an outlier performance, it wasn't an outlier in terms of, wow, the Celtics did something they never do, which is take a lot of high variance shots and got a really bad outcome. It's exactly who they are, and the percentages went against them in this game. That doesn't mean that you should feel like the Knicks are live to win this series. It doesn't mean that you should bet the Knicks in game 2 or in this series or at any point maybe in the series ever. But to me in game one, Brandon, it was a very clear difference in how we talk about shot variance and the quality of looks that Boston creates.
Yeah, so it's good work, and I think those are all things that we definitely need to keep in mind. That's real stuff from game one, but I think how we're framing what we do that with is what I want to like. I'm not going to dispute any of the numbers. I will say this: 60 shot attempts. That's a lot. That's a lot of shots up. They set the record for most 3-point misses in a playoff game in regulation, then added to the record in overtime. Good job to the Celtics. You put the record out of reach until, we'll see, maybe in game 2, you'll find a way to match it again. 65% versus 55% is a difference of 6 3-pointers over the course of game. That's not nothing, but I'm not ready to make too many proclamations on 6 shots that, like, okay, what if 3 of those 6 become better looks? What if Towns plays a little bit more? Because Towns is the weak link defender, and he's the reason, probably the biggest reason, Boston's going to get better looks when he plays more next game, when he's not in foul trouble all game. That's better for Boston's offense, better for New York's offense too. But does that raise that percentage up? Is that part of the reason? You talked about on Twitter, the Knicks, I think this was you, the Knicks, so Towns went out, Mitchell Robinson gets hack-a-shacked, so they bring in Precious. Precious can move. Precious can switch. Precious can actually make you take a 3 off a dribble. Precious is not going to be playing a lot in this series. So when you put those minutes out, and now it's Mitch again, or now it's Cat again, does that even out to, I don't know is the answer, but I'm not willing to go too crazy on 6 attempts in one game. Here's what I will say. The shot variance thing from that game and the numbers and the fact that the shots are coming harder to come by from that game, all of those things should remind us of 2 things. 2 things, and they're both very important. And I think you're fixated too much on one of the things, so I'm going to agree with that, but then remind of the second thing. The first thing is this. Game to game, the Celtics are vulnerable. Because game to game, on any given night, you might make 15 out of 60 threes. And the Knicks might make their threes, 46% on theirs. The Knicks had very likely their best shooting performance of the series, or at least second best. The Celtics had probably almost definitely their worst shooting performance of the series. Both of those things happened on one night and a bunch of other stuff. By the way, the Knicks shot 40% on twos. Twos is a lot more predictable game to game. That's a problem. By the way, the Celtics had 19 offensive rebounds and a plus 10 rebounding edge over a physical Knicks team that's supposed to win on rebounds. That's a problem. There's a lot of more underlying stuff that says, okay, a lot of other things that the Celtics doing was pretty good here. The Knicks got their best shooting game. They got the outlier OG game. They got the McHale overtime. They got the Brunson shots late. Porzingis goes out hurt. They got the outlier Celtics shooting game. They did all of those things, and they won a game in overtime by 1 shot. So the Celtics are vulnerable in a game. They were up 72-52, and I old takes exposed myself by being like, get this series out of here. Oh my gosh, I can't watch it anymore. I needed to be reminded of the lesson, Matt, that you're saying. On any given game, even for 1 half, it can all go sideways. So we should be reminded of 1 game live betting opportunities against the Celtics. The Knicks could come back and pull this off here. And as it started to happen, we should have more seriously taken it more seriously. However, the whole point of Missoula ball is that playoffs are not March Madness. They are 7-game series in the NBA. And over 7 games, you get 7 shots for the variance to even things back out. And over 7 games, the better team is going to be better more often. They're going to have 60 3-pointers to 37 3-pointers, and they're going to make more of them and have, again, 1 shot difference. And the Celtics win the game, and we're like, well, you know, the Knicks really pushed them all the way, but they really should have won that one. The Celtics got it. This probably will be over quickly. We saw all that happen for 2.5 quarters. Over 7 games, the fact that Missoula won't adjust and that they will play the way they play should make us more, not less, confident in Boston, because they will be who they are, and who they are is still a way better team than New York, and a way better team than the other half of the bracket in the East. And we'll see in the finals, but the Cavs are hurt. The Pacers can't hurt this team. The Knicks are not a team that is serious, able to beat a team like this 4 times in a row for a night. They did. And they get their flowers. And Knicks fans, it's an awesome win. You'll remember it forever. But it has to happen 3 more times. And I will still bet over the next 6 games as necessary, Boston will win out for the 6 because the math over 7 games evens out the variance and the shots and the way that things go. So I think it's both things. It matters for 1 game, but it matters over a series and over a month of May as well.
I don't disagree with most of that. I take one quibble, which is I think we're over-indexing when we do this because we've done this before where it's like they did all of this. It took all of this, and they lost in overtime. A good way to think about that is what happened in Game 1 of Nuggets versus Clippers. Probably a good way to think about it. Oh, all this had to happen just for the Nuggets to win in overtime. And then they lost the series. And I think when we look at this, the mistake is made about thinking that it's not good to look at the results over the process, but I do think it's indicative of we have one half where the Celtics were able to execute cleanly and did all the things right, and then we have about a quarter and a half where the Celtics got completely away from their process. And to me, this is the key with this year's team, is that they are much more likely to do that with a weaker defense than, and like this is going to be the real differentiating point between us, is like, how do you feel about the I want to get Brian's thoughts on this, but how do you feel about the Celtics defense, Brandon? Do you think it's as good as last year?
I don't have an answer for that yet. Certainly not from the regular season version, and certainly not if we don't get more Porzingis, and I don't know what we're going to get from him at this point. But there's no question that Horford's a year older and lost at least a quarter of a step at this point. There's no question that Jrue Holiday was much worse in the regular season and, can only do so much at this point. Boston's defense is what, like, the defense gives them the floor. The threes give them the ceiling, is how Boston's formula has worked. So is the floor as high as it was? I don't think so. I don't think the floor of the defense is as good. I don't think the floor of this team is as good. I just also am looking at the 3 teams in their way to get to the finals, and I don't think they're good enough for that to necessarily matter yet. I would be betting no Boston futures on title stuff yet. I don't know how I feel about any of the other 4 teams over there. I'm looking at this series. I'm looking at a Cavs team that I hadn't really taken totally seriously and now is falling apart at the seams with injuries. So it's both parts. I agree with you, Matt. I think the Celtics are clearly not as good as they were last year. I'm just not sure it's going to matter in this version of the East.
Yeah, I've been saying that pretty consistently. It's like, they're not as good as last year. Believe me. Oh, so they're going to lose? Well, no, probably not. Brian, I want your thoughts on this, and then I want to talk about East. I want to talk about some of the Celtics futures that are out there.
I think with me, it's really the fourth quarter, because if you're looking at the game in totality, well, the Celtics were controlling everything in the first half, really in the second quarter. And actually, when they built that lead, it looked like they were going to blow that game out of the water. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth quarter is when they started doing stupid Celtic shit that they've been doing the last couple of years in the playoffs. Like, they reverted back to their old ways, where this is where the numbers get kind of wonky, because the process got really bad. They were taking contested 3-point shots. They were taking shots too early in the shot clock. They weren't in rhythm. They were dribbling a lot and over dribbling. And to your point, Matt, they were just passing it around the perimeter. They also shot 2 of 15 from 3 in the fourth quarter. I don't know if that's going to happen again. They were 13%. I think they attempted 7 twos the entire second half, which is ridiculous. And that's one thing. They probably won't do it, but I do think they should attack the basket more, but they probably won't, because that's not what Missoula ball necessarily calls for. I just think with Karl-Anthony Towns, like, you don't have to only make him work in terms of 3-point shot, because with Karl-Anthony Towns there, I mean, when he's out there, it's going to be better for the Celtic offense, because that's how you're going to generate a lot of your 3-point shots, especially from the corners. But you could also attack him and get him into space. And the Knicks are going to overhelp on Karl-Anthony Towns. When he's on an island, they get very nervous. One of the wings come over, and that's how you're going to get your corner threes. Like, they missed a ton of shots in the fourth quarter specifically, which is why we're here. I think that's mainly what it is, more than anything else. Like, the third quarter wasn't super bad, and the Knicks also shot a ridiculous, like, well over 50% down the stretch of the game from 3, which I don't know if that's going to replicate itself either. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. but the Celtics were 4 of 21 in the fourth quarter. That's 19% just from the field. And like in looking at how they got those shots, they look like 2022, 2023 messing around with the Miami Heat Celtics, where they would just revert back into their old ways, pre-Joe Mazzulla, by the way. And it was like, all right, Jason Tatum's going to do a your turn, my turn with Jaylen Brown on this possession. Then they go back up the floor, and Tatum's just going to hold the ball for very long and then take a misguided step back three. Like, it was all that old shit that Celtics fans have been complaining about. And then what happens is, at least in particular to this spot, like, we've seen them respond a lot. And this is the other issue moving forward in terms of back in the Knicks, is the Celtics are a really good road playoff team. They might be a better, numerically, I'm not remembering what the numbers are off the top of my head, but they might have a better road record in the playoffs than at home, at least in like second, third round and things of that nature. So that's the other piece of this. And I know Knicks fans, Madison Square Garden, it's going to be very loud. And this is a team that's not going to give a shit. Like, they're 1 and 1A, not going to give a shit about the noise. Like, it won't bother them in the same way that it might rattle other teams, especially given that you already lost on your home floor to the Pistons in the playoffs.
So I want to talk about the fourth quarter real quick. Derek White was 1 of 4. Not good, but it's also like, if he shoots 2 of 4, now he's at 50%. That's high. If he's 3 of 4, 75%, right? Like, this is how this goes when we get in these small sample sizes. What I thought was interesting, Holiday and Horford combined for 3 of 12 from 3 in this game. Mm-hmm. Those are the two guys I've had the most question marks about because they're oldest. Drew shot 62% from the corners last year in the playoffs. It was one of the reasons they were untouchable. Drew has not shot well from the corners this year at all. And it's been a burbling point in Celtics Twitter of like, a little bit worried about Drew's 3-point shot, and everybody being like, no, I'll be fine. In the playoffs, he'll shoot 62% again. I'm like, I don't know about that. In the fourth quarter, Drew Holiday shot all 4 of his 3-point attempts from the left corner. He was 1 of 4. Jason Tatum was 0 of 5, and I will tell you that the vast majority of those were pull-up, contested, long-range pull-up Jays.
Oh,
so when they
we're both not along with that one. We've watched Jason Tatum play some ball.
And so that to me is like indicative of like I think it's a smart analysis, Brian. For 2.5 quarters, they played smart Celtics basketball, like Brandon's talking about, and they were able to build a 20-point lead. For a quarter and a half, they played dumb Celtics basketball, and they blew a 20-point lead and lost in overtime to the Knicks.
Barely blew overtime.
They did, but Brunson also could have hit that wide open layup at the buzzer.
Yeah, in which case they would have barely lost in regulation.
Right.
They still would have barely lost. It took the Mikhail Banks 3 that we saw on Twitter. It took Brunson hitting the threes late. It took OG hitting the threes late. Again, that's what happens in the basketball games. Yeah. But a lot of the the point is, it took all the bad Boston process stuff happening, and it took all the New York incredible offense happening all at once from a bunch of different guys just to get there, just for one game. So again, none of that matters anymore. Like, we did this again. I said, you brought up Nuggets Clippers. I said after that game 1, series is over. Nuggets are going to win. It's over. Wasn't over. Went to 7 games. Guess what? The Nuggets still won because they won a game that they shouldn't have twice. They got that game and they got the Aaron Gordon dunk game. They won 2 games they shouldn't have. By game 7, we forgot all about it. We didn't care anymore. It's game 7. What's going to happen? It's 50-50 now. Well, we're only here because they got 2 games earlier that they shouldn't have, but they did. They got it. It's binary. You got to win or you didn't. And the fact that the Knicks got the win is all that matters for the 7-game series. But the process of how they got there still makes me feel pretty good about Boston on the series going forward.
I will say this. If you tell me that there are going to be 5 more close games in this series, I get very nervous about Boston.
Agreed.
I agree with that.
I would not feel as confident about Boston if you told me there was going to be 5 close games, because the whole point is I don't think there's going to be 5 close games. I think there'll be 1 or 2 maybe.
Then let me kind of rephrase the question then.
They did beat the Knicks in overtime in April, for what it's worth.
If the difference was going to have to be execution in close games late, would you feel confident in Boston?
I mean, again, the whole point of Boston is that over 7 games, you're going to have the thing we saw for 2.5 quarters, the 20-point lead. That's going to happen for a full game 2 or 3 times. And now you only need 2 other times, or maybe 1 to get the job done. Also, and when the gap is that big between them, if it is 3 and you only need 1 other close game, or what if the 1 isn't even a good Boston game? It's just a bad New York game, or Brunson rolled his ankle game, or like, it's when the margin is there, it's like it's not just shot variance, it's variance of like the better team being better or the worst team being worse enough times.
But also in a late game situation, sometimes the Knicks just go, "Hey, Jalen Brunson, save the team." And Boston, unlike Detroit, has Derek White, Jalen Brown, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum. Like,
I don't think it matters. Honestly, Brunson's that good in the clutch, man. He's that bad. He's that
I think I think it'll matter against this defense. No, but what I'm saying is like, even in the clutch situations, I'm not going to say, "Oh, that definitely favors the Knicks." Like, I can't say that over the course of like, if there's 5 clutch games in this series, do you think the Celtics lose more than 2 of them?
Yes.
I don't know about that.
I mean, it's fine. We can
maybe.
I think
if this were 2 years ago, I would say yeah. But
we just have look, the Boston clutch time stuff reared its head again this season. It's a thing, and Brunson tough shot makers are tough shot makers against good defense.
I was a year off apparently on my Celtics slander.
I can say all this, and it's like, oh, so you're betting the Knicks? Hell no! Under no circumstances am I betting the Knicks.
Okay, okay, no, but okay, so what then? Because I'm telling you on all this, I'm betting the Celtics. So what are you doing? Like, to make Matt Mitchell happy, what's the betting advice for you? Are you betting the Knicks in a game? Are you betting the Knicks live when they're down 20 next time? What is the takeaway if you were right about your Knicks stuff? How do we bet it sometime?
I am going to follow my NBA futures analyst advice, and I'm going to tail him on his. We'll talk about it because here's the problem. You remember in the series preview when I was like, I don't know what to do because my numbers are like, this is a wrong number on the Knicks.
Right.
Like right now, I have a large baseball bat, and I'm trying to beat confirmation bias back into the closet. Go away! No, stop it! Because that part of me that is like, numbers knew. The numbers knew this was a closer series, and you should have bet the Knicks. And I'm trying to be like, no, this was a particular situation, and regardless of how valid or invalid the results were, based off of long-term projection, you cannot overreact and give yourself this giant pat on the back, and definitely do not chase a cost opportunity,
right,
with a worse number. So I have to just sit here and be like,
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is we knew that there was the chance that in a close game Brunson could win it. We knew that there was the chance that the shot variance game could happen to both teams. The Knicks could win it. The problem is we knew that, and now it happened, and it's too late to bet that now. And to your point about like the confirmation bias, I'll own it also. If I think the Celtics are better and that the Knicks are a JV team, then of course I'm going to over-index on 72-52 and be like, yeah, and then some other stuff happened after that. Like that too is confirmation bias. Both parts matter. And if they keep happening, then I need to adjust priors. From one game, I'm not there yet. I will say this because Bryan is on this podcast. As I see this series right now, let's say we get 2 more close games, and let's say the Knicks win 2 more close games, and let's say New York goes up 3-0. From what I know right now, barring other injury news or some other crazy thing, from what I'm seeing right now before and in the series, I will come here on buckets and make the same bet I did against the Heat 2 years ago, which is Celtics to win in 7. And I would make that bet again then, and I will make it again this series because that's how big a gulf I feel like there is between these teams.
Celtics are minus 115 to win the East at Circa. I am checking the log for where the market has them. I want to see where exactly we're at across the market. It's minus
plus 110 at BetMGM as I bet it last night because that is one of my best bets for the day.
It's minus 105 at ESPN. That's the best number in the market that I've got right now on my screen.
So Celtics versus the field, basically.
Mm-hmm. And that is probably going to be the bet that I'll make. Because, like, I agree with both of your assessments here, where there are pathways, but Bryan was asking me before the show, it's like, okay, they got this one. How do they get 2 more? And, like, I don't have an answer for how they get 2 more to force a Game 7, let alone win the Game 7. I don't know how they force a Game 7. Like, all the stuff Brandon said about it did take all this stuff. It did. You know, it took extremes on outcomes. Unless there is now I will give Tom Thibodeau a lot of credit because I said, unless he pulls out a completely different defensive scheme, guess what? He put Karl Anthony Towns on an island and said, "You're gonna have to defend in space." And Cat was like, "All right." Now, Cat was bad offensively and had his usual allotment of terrible fouls, and he's gonna be a lot better in this series. If he is, that could help their chances. Probably not, because Karl Anthony Towns doesn't get to have nice things. There are tactical things going forward in the series that the Knicks can do. I just don't know if it's going to outweigh the fact of how much better the Boston Celtics are going to be from 3-point range in pure percentage. Even if they take terrible shots, that to me is maybe like a better way to do this. I can argue they took terrible shots than they did in the last half of this game. They will still shoot better on terrible shots again than they did in this game.
Right. Like going into every Celtics series, I'm always expecting, all right, they're going to have at least one stupid game where something like this happens. I would have thought that the stupid game, they would have lost by more and it wouldn't have went to overtime. And that's not to say that we're not going to get another stupid Celtics game, because maybe they will. I had them in 5 before, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility they win 4 straight. I probably wouldn't bet on that now, but like there are bets, we're going to talk about it. There are bets out there that I think are worth looking at even with this loss. And I think there are not a lot of people. There are Knicks fans who believe like, oh, they can, like, this series is over. The Knicks are winning in 6, some even 4, to which I think that's ridiculous.
I mean, it's okay for fans to believe in their team. It's okay.
To some extent.
I mean, Heat fans thought that culture was a real thing.
It used to be.
Wow.
It used to be. It got traded away in February.
They thought that if they put if they put the slogan on the court, that they could just beat everybody, and it turns out
just to be clear, it is okay and great for fans to believe in their team. It is not okay on this a betting podcast for fans to blindly bet on their team.
Yes.
Knicks fans, don't bet on a sweep. Please, God, don't bet on a sweep. We beg you. Just root for your team to sweep.
If you do bet on it though, and you win, please let me know so that I can put all of your comments on the screen with Brandon Anderson and make him watch Knicks highlights.
Yes, please do that.
Nuggets Thunder. I'll be honest with you. Again, I've been doing this for 18 years now. I've been doing this for 18 years. I host a Nuggets podcast. I rewatched the game last night. I don't know how they won that game. I don't know how. I'm still like, well, they were down 10, ... and then Aaron Gordon hit the game winner. And that's all like Chet missed 2 free throws and Aaron hit a game winner and Russ made a really great pass. Like,
great pass.
That's all I got to say. I think we can kind of talk about this game maybe after we get another game to kind of put this series in bigger perspective. But Brandon, I want to know, I do think this is an interesting question, that's a corollary off of it. So I went with the trend, and you were very nice to be comforting to me last night when we did our preview. I was like, was that stupid? And you were like, no, it was a good process. It just, the 20% happened. And I was like, that made me feel a lot better. I went to bed better. Good. Because Brandon, and like 3 hours later, because I had to work so much. But anyway, because Brandon was able to like tell me like, no, your process on that was fine. But the experience factor is what everyone's talking about today. Is experience a real bettable edge to include in the handicap? Because I've struggled with this question a lot through the years. Brandon?
Yeah, again, it feels to me like it is, if anything, I think it is a live betting edge. Okay. And it's a spot where, okay, the Thunder are up 10, but the Nuggets keep hanging around. How are they hanging around? How is it 10 points? Like, we all had that feeling, right? We all watched the game, and we all were like checking the score, like still 8 points, 5 left. You know, you never know. You never know with sports. Still 5 points, a minute and a half left. And Jokic could do things. Like, we're all feeling that. You listening at home are feeling that feeling as you watch the game. That, I think, I don't do a lot of live betting. I'm a terrible live bettor. I bet my emotions live. I want to be distanced from the game, and I want as much data as I can, and live betting does not help me. So you're not going to catch me live betting games, and if you do, please don't tail, because we're probably going to lose. If you're good at live betting, follow Raheem Palmer. Raheem is great at live betting. He follows his instincts, and they work out pretty well. I think it's a live betting spot where you're like, if you catch that feeling of like, I'm seeing this team sort of let the opponent hang around here, and here's the veteran team, or here's Brunson or Jokic or the closer that I trust. I think both of these cases were spots where a good live bettor could have been smart to bet. I do not think it was a good bet to take the Knicks before game one or to take the Nuggets before game one. I think those are bad bets. Man, I told you, I thought your Thunder bet was a good bet. They were up big at halftime. They were up big early into the third quarter. Things fell apart. I think it is a good bet before the game, and then you can adjust or you can wait and play live. And I think that can also be a good bet later. It doesn't necessarily make the pregame read right. Looking at the end of the game, a few things that stood out to me of like, okay, where did the experience thing go awry? So it's a 5-point lead with like just over a minute left. Jokic just like steps into effectively an uncontested three. iHeart should have contested. He didn't. He's on his back foot. You're up 5 or you're up 4, something like that with like a minute left. Your goal is just no threes. Just make them take some tough twos, use some clock. You can't allow that. That was a mistake. There's a lot of talk about the following up 3 thing. I think the following up 3 is fine. The way they did it is not fine because, number one, they fouled so fast. Like, they're fouling instantly. The point is to make you, like, dribble the ball up the court a while, use up 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then foul. So that's a little bit of it. You do that twice, and they don't necessarily have as much time to get that final shot off. To me, the one key mistake, if I could take one mistake away, was Jokic goes out of the game. Jokic has 5 fouls, so they sub him out of the game. They do not want him fouling. And then the Thunder catch the Nuggets sleeping, I thought, and get it to Shea for a dunk. Some people are saying, oh, he dunked it too fast. No, it's fine. You want the dunk because here's why. The Nuggets are out of timeouts. Down 3 now with Jokic out of the game, and they have no way to get the best player on the planet back into the game unless you foul immediately, you idiots, and put them on the line and let them bring Joker back into the game. That's the spot where you messed up. You're up 3 with the best defense like this century so far, potentially. Well, we'll say this decade. Let's not go too far. Play it out up 3. The worst that can happen is you give up a 3 and you probably still have a shot to win in regulation. That's the key spot. The other thing at the very end, after Gordon hits the 3, there's 2.8 on the clock. That's not nothing in the NBA. You don't have a timeout, but don't just grenade the ball to J-Dub. And J-Dub, don't just shoot it from like 3/4 court. He shot with over a second on the clock. That's another dribble or two. Like, they could have got something. You can throw it to half court. You could get some sort of shot up, maybe draw a foul, something. Those, to me, were like the tactical moments that are, Dags hasn't done it before. Matt, we talked about that. Like, are we sure he's ready for the moment? I thought that's on coaching, and he owned it. And I think that's where Shea's got to get the ball on that last play. Shea has to be the one taking the shot. You can't do that foul. Those things, if they're real, they only had 1 win by 1 possession all regular season. You can live bet on the other side. And if you want to live bet Nuggets championship medal in a close game late, by all means, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. I think that would have made sense with the game last night. I don't know how much we can factor that in pregame and on our pregame podcast previews that we're doing. I'm not sure what we can do with that. That's not a live thing.
That's fair. Couple thoughts on the fouling up 3 thing, and I will keep it short because it's a betting play, but I think it's relevant for understanding the dynamics of how to bet this thing live. Like, one, fouling up 3 is going to increase your win probability. People have asked, like, well, what should they have done? And I'm like, well, Chet Holmgren should have made his free throws. It's like, that's the answer. It's like, Chet should have made his free throws. The problem with what happened on the Jokic thing, Shea dunks it. You don't have the ability in that crowded arena at full volume. You have trained the guys and coached them foul up 3 immediately. Right. So they're following principles. You don't have time to change the instruction. If Dags yells, don't foul, then they're going to be like, what are we doing? Like, okay. And now you're scrambled and you might wind up with a game tying attempt anyway. People have said, like, you can't foul that early. You got to let time run off the clock. I have watched Nikola Jokic the entirety of his career. His white whale, the thing he has chased most often, is a pull-up half-court three-pointer when he knows he's about to be fouled, and he tries to get into a shooting motion.
The
He
Chris
has
Paul.
begged and pleaded. He has groveled. He has demeaned himself in the game of basketball trying to get that call. It is what he hunts more than any other shot. He cares about it more than MVPs or titles. He wants that call. And there is a real risk. If you bring that ball up, if you allow it to be brought up court, one guy makes a bad gamble and it's an open three-pointer and you're missing that opportunity to foul. So it's, to me, I understand if we're going to do it, do it. Like, if we're going to call that this is what we're doing, don't halfway it. This is why coaches stress about the up three foul, is they're like, if I tell them to foul, but they don't know when to, it risks the possibility of the 3-shot foul. Now, the counter to this is, well, you did it. Congratulations. You lost, jackass. And that's like a fair counter to this situation, which goes back to Chet Holmgren's got to make his free throws.
Okay, so here's my question for either of you. We'll go to Matt first as the Nuggets guy. The thing I want to know coming out of this is, so I'm not loading up on Thunder series bets. I'm not necessarily worried about them yet. I'm certainly more worried than I am about Boston so far. I don't think the price moved enough for Oklahoma City for me to need to get in on it yet. There's enough uncertainty, but here's the question I'm asking myself. I want you guys to answer as well. Which part are you more concerned about in the Thunder's case? Is it the final 2-3 minute collapse, the thing you're talking about, Matt, the like 10 points, Gordon made the 3, it's over? Is it that part? Or is it that it got till minute 45 and was still only 8 or 10, and that the Nuggets actually hung around and got the rebounds and out-physicaled them on game 7, 2 days later, all those things? Which part is more meaningful for us going forward? And I don't know the answer. I'm curious what you think, Matt.
For me, the concern is that the Nuggets had such a low percentage outcome game, and they won. So the Thunder made 5 more 3-pointers than Denver. They outscored them in points off of turnovers 23-5. They beat them in bench points by 9 points. All of this happened, and Denver won. And they won with offensive rebounding and drawing fouls by basically being more physical than OKC. And the thing that I've been worried about all year, which is high leverage shots from Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, and those guys not falling. J-Dub will be better. I'm confident in that. But that combination of the Nuggets are more physical and bullied you, and your guys couldn't hit the shots they needed to. This reminds me again a lot of the 2019 Bucks, and that continues to be, I think, a concern for OKC's title chances, if nothing else. Brian?
I mean, what were the 2 questions coming into this?
So are you more concerned with the first 45 minutes or the last 3 minutes?
No. I was saying, like,
it's rhetorical.
Yeah, rhetorical. Like, what were the 2 questions coming into the playoffs for OKC? It was basically Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. It was revolving around those 2. With Chet Holmgren missing the 2 free throws is the thing that everyone's going to point to, but also just he had a hard time in the game, especially offensively, I felt like. And then with Jalen Williams, like these are the questions. Like, beyond Shea, is your secondary source of offense going to be there constantly? And people tend to look towards Jalen Williams because his upside as a creator is higher than Chet Holmgren's. And that's where I'm a little concerned. I would be more concerned if, like, Michael Porter Jr. were healthy, for example, or if Denver overall just has been a little bit more of a machine that they were 2 years ago in the postseason, and has some depth, because that's the other thing. We got some surprise Julian Strawther minutes, which I was happy about, and I hope that he plays in the America Cup. I doubt it, but we got some surprise Julian Strawther minutes, and I actually think, could he play this series? Because I feel like there could be a role for him in this series. That would particularly be as a shooter. But, you know, I thought that was an interesting sort of wrinkle there. And just as a philosophy, I guess, or not even a philosophy, but like tying it back to Knicks Celtics a little bit, like the game sort of matters when, to me, I'm looking at this like Oklahoma City lost, like kind of wasting the Alex Caruso offensive game. Because defensively, he's going to be what he is, which is an elite perimeter defender, all the things. But the 5 threes, I don't know how often you're going to get that, considering how inconsistent his jumper's been. But you would think Jalen Williams will have like his offensive output. Chet Holmgren will be a little more impactful on the offensive side. But I think this series, like, I'm not going to move off OKC, although I didn't bet this series prior. I felt like OKC was going to win. But I'm a little more encouraged that, okay, maybe this can be 2-2 going into a best of 3 in 5, 6, and 7. Because now I'm like, Denver got one, and I know they can win on their home court. So it's like, all right, can this be 2-2? And then it's like Jokic versus the Thunder, best of 3. And that makes me intrigued by the Nuggets. I don't know if I'm going to bet them. Maybe I'll wait this out and see if it gets to that point. But I feel better about Denver comparatively, I guess, than some of the other underdogs.
All right, let's do best bets for Wednesday in the NBA playoffs. We'll go around the horn. We'll give our best bets. And then we've got Ballsy Parlay from Brandon that we're going to have for you at the end of the show. Brandon Anderson, what are your best bets for Wednesday in the NBA playoffs?
I'm going to ride the escalator on the Celtics. I said it at the top. So here's where we're going. Game 2, -10. Give me the Celtics. Give me the Game 2 series parlay, -225. Celtics in 6 or less. So the -1.5 series, that's about even odds. And then about even odds to win the East. I'm taking them all the way to the top. And then I'm also going to take Jason Tatum over 15.5 rebounds and assists. In the other game, Jokic, round 2 rebounds leader, -150 at DraftKings. That one just went up today. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, another rebound assist. I'm going to go over 12.5 rebound assists, plus 106. And I've got some Shai escalators as well.
Bryan Fonseca, your best bets for Wednesday.
Celtics first half, -5.5. Just feels like the right spot. Also parlay. Derek White to make 4 threes, Jason Tatum to make 4 threes. That is almost plus 300 at one particular book. And I also have, let's see if I can pull this up here. Oh, Celtics series spread, -1.5.
Okay. Derek White over 15.5 points at BetMGM. Derek White over 3.5 3-pointers made at BetRivers. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 32.5 points, -115 at DraftKings. Those are mine. Let's talk Celtics Knicks here.
Let me go first because we've effectively made the entire case from escalator. So let me just quickly add to that. And I don't have too much to say here. For this particular game, 2 trends to know. One of them doesn't involve the Celtics. It involves every team. Game 2 at home after losing by 3 or more. 46, 25, and 2 ATS, 65%. That's in any round. For whatever reason, I'm not going to make too much of this. It's especially good in round 2. Teams at home after losing by 3 or more in game 1, 78% ATS, 17 and 5. By the way, that works for the Cavs tonight also, if you like it. Then there's the Celtics trend. We've been doing this for 5 years, Matt. You bet the Celtics after they lose as a favorite when they're favored again. Since 2020, in that spot, favored after losing as a favorite, the Celtics in the playoffs are 15 and 3 against the spread, 83%. They screw around, they give a game away, they show up focused and take care of business the next game. So that's Celtics minus the 10. I don't play a lot of -10s. That's why I'm willing to play that number because of those 2 trends. And if I like him in game 2, I still like him in the series. If I like him in the series, no, I'm not going to take the reverse sweep. I wanted to just dump on the Knicks yet again. I'm giving them one more possible game. I'll play the -1.5 on the series line. Brian, you're in on that one as well. I'm playing the East at around even odds, best number you can find. We talked about all that stuff. So that's my Celtics game 2 escalator.
I've forgotten the Celtics after a loss thing. God, this sucks. Okay. So this game opened -8.5. It's now 10.5. Took money, not surprisingly. I have a process question for the both of you because I don't know. Okay. You don't have to trust my model. I don't expect anybody to, but it's what I use. I've been successful with it on the spread this year. That's the process. That said to take Knicks in game 1, right? Because it's going to say that I said very early on that the market was way ahead of Boston. It's going to say the same thing for game 2. Even if I put these adjustments on it, it's still going to say, because of how much my differential is off, with the market move, it's still going to say to take the Knicks in game 2. We got the Celtics trend, which I think the Celtics after a loss trend. I got one to add, Brandon. You ready for this one? Since 2018-19, the last 6 seasons in the NBA playoffs, when a team has shot more than 43 pointers in the previous game and made less than 30% of them, okay? You just had an outlier bad 3-point shooting game. You got volume and you shot horribly. 22-11 straight up, 23-10 against the spread, 69.7%.
Shooting variance.
It normalizes next game. I have trends on this in the regular season I use, where if you have an outlier good or bad game, it's a good idea to go the other way on that team in the follow-up game because it does normalize. It does kind of regulate itself. If you're super hot, you cool off, and if you're super cold, you focus a little bit more on your details and you get your shooting back to normal. By the way, that game where we're recording this again on Tuesday afternoon, that also applies to the Timberwolves on Tuesday night versus the Warriors because they shot so badly in their game 5. Go ahead, Brian.
Something I would want to know, because you said since 2018-19, a lot of those are going to be Celtics games.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Because they've been in the playoffs every year. They've gone deep almost every year. And
they played the Heat a bunch of times and had bad shooting games and lost, but then won the next game.
And then won the next game. Yeah, they've had a bunch of those dumb losses, and they tend to come back. And Tatum gets 30 and 14 and 8 or whatever it is, and guys just shoot better. So I wonder how many of them are just the Celtics specifically.
Only 3.
That's surprising.
Only 3 games that they've been in that kind of a spot. This will be the 4th game.
Now
that will make them have the most in this time frame.
Are they 3-0? 2-1?
They are 2-1 straight up in ATS.
I bet you the one is Miami.
I'll look it up.
It's probably Miami in like 2023.
No, the loss was in 2019 to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh, that's interesting. One of the wins are definitely against Miami. So maybe both.
Yes.
Brian, why first half here and not just full game?
I think they'll do smarter shit in the first half. Like, I think they'll come out the gate and be like, all right, this shit is over, and build the big lead in the first half. And if they have their fuck around quarter, I would think it would be in like the 3rd or 4th quarter. But I like both. I just, for whatever reason, my preference is in these type of spots, in these bounce back spots, I like looking at the first half. Yeah. Because that's normally where you see it. It's like, okay, they address it right away. They don't mess around. Whereas in the full game, things could happen. But I think they should get both. I'd be surprised if they don't get both.
Yeah, me too.
So that's my question, Brandon, is like, should I just go against the model and I know you're recommending this play anyway because like this is your best bet.
Well, what's your model have this game at?
My model has this game at a number that I should have looked up before I asked you this question, which is
like I want to know how far off it is. Like, is it like off by a point or 5 points?
I've got 7.3. We're 3 points off. Even if I give him another 2, if I give him 2 points for the edge on game 2 off a loss after the shooting performance, let's say they give the trend 2 points, I'm still a point short here, 1.5 points.
Is that because of Porzingis or something?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean,
because he might not play.
Yeah.
To me, which put your model aside for a second.
Yep.
Which way does your instinct want to bet this game?
Boston.
Okay. So I think that what you do, Matt, what I would do with a model that's off by that much is I don't think you bet the Knicks. I think that your model might warn you to maybe also not bet Boston, or maybe you take the first half, Brian's angle, or like maybe your model warns you away and it's a guardrail. It may not necessarily need to flip it to the other side.
We've got enough of you guys on Boston. I can set this one out and you guys can get the dub on it, and I'll just and that way I won't mush it, and that'll be an optimum outcome. Talk to me about Tatum over 15.5 rebounds, assists, Brandon.
Yeah, so Tatum had 23 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists. I got the FOMO on Tatum rebounds. I'm always betting Tatum rebounds. How come I didn't get that one in game 1? So here's the crazy thing. You can look at NBA.com. You can see potential rebounding chances, I think is what they call it. Tatum had 17 rebounding chances, and he got 16 of them. So 94%. Guess who those were against? Here's the other side of the equation. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby in game 1 had 31 rebounding chances and got 4 rebounds. 13% of their rebounds. That is Tatum dominating the glass. He's not going to get 94% all the time, but he is going to get a lot of rebounding chances. Not quite as many because the Celtics won't miss a billion shots the next game. But you've heard us talk about Tatum rebounds before. It's always going to be there. Tatum had 6 assists, but he had 17 potential assists. Easily the most in the game. Well over Brunson's 12 potential assists. Why only 6? Duh, because they can't make any of the shots. So none of the shots fell. So none of the assists were there for Tatum. I think the assists should go up. The rebounds should be steady and pushing around 10. So both of those stood out to me. So Tatum over 15.5 rebounds and assists. It's minus 105 at DraftKings. Again, he went over that number on just rebounds last game. So he has a shot to do that on that alone. I think the assists will be there. Before the series, we bet Tatum assist leader. The number actually got slightly longer here. I don't understand why. Tatum, again, had 5 more potential assists than Brunson. So I'm going to bet that again. Plus 160 at BetMGM for Tatum's series assist leader. I think it's those two. If you haven't bet it yet, I like it. If you have bet it, I like it again. So Tatum assist leader. I can't quite recommend to your rebound leader because Cat had a lot of rebounds in only 31 minutes. So I'm not sure there. And then at DraftKings, they put up round 2 leaders, and Joe Delara, Jim Turby, and I already logged it just before we came on. Threes leader for the round, plus 850 at Bet365 is where that one was from. And it's also at DraftKings. Threes leader for Tatum. So lots of Tatum. I like him to lead in possibly in points and rebounds, definitely in assists here. And then on the just game 2, it's over 15.5 rebound assist combo. And I think we could maybe this series, we could be on triple double watch for Tatum at some point.
That's a teaser for something coming later. I'm on Derek White over 15.5 points. Love this matchup for him. They leave him open, and it's ridiculous, and it's stupid. Think about how badly the Celtics shot as a whole. Derek White still had 19 points in this game, and he still made 5 threes. Like, this number should be categorically higher in all situations. I do not understand why they have not adjusted his lines. Over 3.5 threes at Bet Rivers is plus 108. Derek White over 15.5 points is minus 110 Bet MGM. Those are absolutely my favorite bets of this game. Brian, you are on something similar, which is Tatum and White to each make 4 threes plus 294 at FanDuel.
Derek White has gotten 4 more threes in 5 straight games against the Knicks, including last night. And it's also more so with both of these guys. And Tatum, by the way, in 4 of his last 5.
This is why I can't bet the Knicks. It's like you literally leave the one guy you can't leave open. I genuinely let Tatum try and beat you, man. Don't send help. Let Tatum try and score 60. Don't let Derek White shoot.
By the way, Derek
Tibbs
White
won't allow that.
Derek White had the open rhythm corner 3 last night to end the comeback and end the game at one point and missed it for like the first time in his entire life. Derek White always makes that shot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the entire podcast we're doing is framed differently. He hit one later, but he missed the one there.
I cannot look. I've already bet this at other numbers, and it's fine. I get the idea of like the best player in the team on the winning team is gonna win Finals MVP. I'm just telling you right now, Derek White is 85 to 1 at a book to win Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and it's wrong. That price is wrong. Like, the voters know how good Derek White is. They know all the defensive stuff that he does. There's absolutely a world where Derek White wins Conference Finals MVP. Just like I thought Jaylen Brown could win it last year, because Brown was their best player last year, even though Tatum is their best player in terms of talent. Brown had the best season. White's had the best season of any Celtic. I'm just telling you. Numbers wrong.
What to tell me, I don't even want numbers. Derek White has to be the team leader in assists per game and a close second in points per game to do that. We give it to the numbers. He's going to be third in scoring and second or lower in assists. How does he win an MVP with those numbers?
He might be second in scoring.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, Matt, how high does he need to finish in the Celtics ranks to take MVP?
I genuinely think that if he plays stellar defense, and he has 2 games where he hits 5 threes and scores 20 plus, That's enough to get him there.
He did that last year against the Pacers, and he blocked the shot to win the game at the end, and he was the MVP, and he got no votes. So this is why I'm rejecting this.
Jalen was the best player in that series by far. And so
Jalen's not been the best player in any series in his life.
I don't think it's 5. I don't think it's 5, Matt. I think it's like, so he went 5 for 16 in this game against the Knicks, this first game. If he has like 2 games where it's like 8 threes, 7, 8 threes, something like that, and, you know, he has like a 29-point game, a 25-point game at the end of the series, it's like the efficiency is absurd. The splits are absurd. And you notice his defense.
Look, the most likely outcome here is like Tatum has 2 30 bombs and that's it. And I get it. I'm just saying at 85-1, there's a possibility that Tatum once again has a bad shooting series. And it's like, well, the Celtics won because they hit a bunch of threes and they play good defense. Derek White. It's not crazy. 85-1 is the wrong price. I'm going to be on Shea over 32.5 points. He got whatever look he wanted. He just missed some shots last night. He still had 33. Like, this number's ridiculous. What are you telling me? 30? Come on. Maybe I lose this because it's a blowout. But again, I thought game 1 was going to be a blowout, and that did not work out. But, like, I just think that Shea's going to put up 33. He's able to get the switch on Jamal Murray whenever he wants. He's going to cook that eventually. They are giving him the switch of Jamal Murray onto him. That's a terrible matchup. He can get to every single spot on the floor that he wants. Shea over 32.5 points is my best bet for that game. You like Jokic. Where did you find the rebound leader at this price? And how dumb is this price at minus 150?
It's so dumb. What are we doing? They just
price.
Posted the round 2 leaders. They're at DraftKings and Bet365. It's the only place I ever see those. It's again, Joe, Jim, and I all bet this just before we came on the podcast. At Bet365, Jokic is minus 2,500 to lead the round in rebounds. He was minus 150 at DraftKings. Hopefully you can still bet it somewhere near that by the time you listen to this. He had 22 rebounds in the first game on 31 rebounding chances. The next highest rebounding chances is like 10 below that from one game so far. So again, the key thing here is you need to believe that the Nuggets series is not going to end in 5 or less because we need volume. We need 6 or 7 games. So unless you think the Nuggets are just making quick work of the Thunder, or unless you think the Thunder are going to reverse sweep. And I don't think either one of those things. If we get at least 6 games, you have to like Jokic. If we get 7 games, it's a wrap and he's going to win easily. So minus 150, something close to that if you can find it.
It's already off the board. You guys
I look too. It's off.
Well, it's too late. It's on the podcast now. It's in the app. Hopefully some of you followed on the app and got it. Let me go to my Shea cap. So I'm intrigued here. Matt, you're on the points over. I'm on the rebounds and assists over. Over 12.5 rebounds and assists. It's slightly plus money, plus 106 at FanDuel. So here's what I saw. First thing I saw, 10 rebounds in game 1. Thank you, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for cashing the easiest bet that we made on the series preview. 8 rebounds or more in any game cashes at halftime of game 1 at plus 290. So we're going to use some of that money and bet it on some more things and try to multiply it here. So he had 10 rebounds. Again, he has now had 8 or more rebounds in half of his games the last 2 postseasons. His rebounding goes up in the playoffs. It's what we're seeing so far. His assists at 8 were a bit of a surprise to me. He had 21 potential assists in game 1. I thought it was a J-Dub assist series. J-Dub did not have a good game. He'll be better, but he only had 8 potentials. 21-8 is a huge margin there. 8 assists on 21 potentials is actually a bad outcome for Shai. Should have had a triple-double in game 1. He should have had probably 10, 11 assists, but his teammates didn't cash for him. So over 12.5 rebounds plus assists. I don't think he'll pass that with one of the 2 stats, like Tatum has the possibility, but I do feel good about him going over both of those. Then Shai for a double-double at BetMGM is plus 325. Look, we know the points are there, so that's one. I like the double-double bet because we got 2 shots at it. We might get there on rebounds. He just did it last game, and we might get there on assists. He had 21 potentials last game. So plus 325, I think, is a really good way to have multiple outs there to double-double. I like him for assist leader at Bet365. He's 6-1. I probably should have got in before because Jokic was like minus 2,500 before the series. Jokic only had 6 dimes in game 1. He only had 12 potentials. Shai was 9 higher on potentials. I don't know if that's a thing yet, but at 6-1, I will find out with Shai because I think he's the only other guy that could win. And last but not least, I just told you Shea had a real shot at triple-double in the first game. He was 2 assists away, 33, 10, and 8. He probably could have had the assists on 21 potentials. He's 28-1 to have a triple-double at FanDuel. So I'm betting that as well as the final part of the Shea escalator. Over 12.5 rebounds and assists, double-double plus 325, triple-double 28-1. And Matt, do I just jump in on the parlay here, the ballsy parlay?
We got our Tommy John Ballsy parlay of the week, and this one's going to be brought to you by Brandon Anderson. I was going to put together like a conglomeration of all our bets, but this one's better than all those. Brandon, take it away.
Let's call it the Joe Delara Tommy John Ballsy parlay of the week, because I'm trying to channel my inner Joe here. We know how Joe loves to just throw some just dart long shots in here. I told you earlier Jason Tatum might be on triple-double watch. I'm telling you right now, Shea is on triple-double watch. Let's triple-double them together. The ballsy parlay, you have to build it yourself, or you can do the triple-doubles together. 318-1 odds. Tatum and Shea dual MVP. Tatum and Shea dual triple-doubles on Wednesday night. It's 318-1. Now, I will admit, it's a night that we expect big bounce-back nights for the Celtics and the Thunder, so this may be not the perfect time to bet this if we get some limited minutes on either one of these guys, but it's 318-1. It's going to be like a tenth of a unit. I'm logging it in the app. This is in play for both of the dudes, and I think it's going to be something to watch the rest of the series. So that is our Tommy John Ballsy parlay of the day. Jason Tatum and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 318-1 to get both of them a triple-double in Game 2.
Pretty ballsy. Pretty ballsy. Brian, are you just sitting out Thunder Nuggets entirely? Are you just like, nope. I don't want to part of this.
I may parlay Celtics first half and Thunder first half. That's something that I'm considering for this game. I'm a little more confident in the Celtics as far as the first half goes.
I will say that I've got a little bit of value right now on Denver winning the series in various permutations on the spread. I don't know if I can talk myself into betting it yet. I will, if it is, I'll be in the app, but it's an interesting one to talk about. Great show today. Really love this one. Been fantastic. If you like this show, you're going to love Buckets Live. Check us out, 10:30 Eastern, halftime of Wolves Warriors. We'll do a live bet on that game. We'll talk about tomorrow's games a little bit more. All that and more on tonight's show. Check it out on youtube.com/The Action Network. It's only on YouTube, not on the podcast feed. So go check it out at YouTube. My thanks to David Payne and Gifford Gould, our producers. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.